around whether or not TikTok should be banned. The burdens for this debate are that proposition must prove that the problem with TikTok are so high that it must be banned, while opposition must prove that it should not be. More importantly, proposition must prove one of two things: that TikTok is uniquely bad and must thus be banned on its own, or that if faults with TikTok that are shared with other platforms must lead to proposition arguing that those other social media platforms must also be banned. This is because, in order to advocate for the banning of TikTok, proposition must do so with a consistent set of arguments. And if those arguments apply to other social media platforms, they must be banned. Opposition intends to prove that TikTok is not unique and that the banning of TikTok would not be beneficial. The proposition's arguments require a model in which they ban TikTok. And so by contrast, we believe that the status quo is the best thing for the world at the moment. While there are problems with social media, a broad crackdown would be impractical and would fail to actually achieve anything. I will prove on this speech that targeted crackdown on TikTok specifically would be isolating TikTok, even though TikTok is not unique. And then the second speaker will prove this during the second proposition speech. The alternative to ban is regulation of the industry, creating guidelines and preventing abuse within the industry. Now, I would like to rebuttal the side proposition. They have been talking about how banning TikTok, or TikTok promotes short content consumption, and that it messes up with user safety, and how it's idolizing being TikTok famous and giving this fake idea. They said that screen time is higher in TikTok, but all apps can get as addictive as TikTok, ladies and gentlemen. Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts are okay, but TikTok is not. Based on what? How does one know if Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts are better or TikTok is worse? Now, moving on to the arguments. Before we move on, I could take a few. Okay. So our first major argument is that the banning of TikTok is authoritarian. This is for two reasons. First, TikTok is a platform on which many express ideas contrary to the political mainstream. TikTok gives people a voice. By banning TikTok, we ban these people's ability to speak freely. And as a result, we limit political dialogue to a few mainstream positions. For example, right now in the US, a massive amount of the push to ban TikTok is to limit pro-Palestinian speech during this current war. The US mainstream political class sides strongly with Israel, but TikTok is full of pro-Palestinian sentiment. And the banning of TikTok is thus simply a political move to crush dissenting voices, which is inherently undemocratic and authoritarian. The second way in which banning TikTok would be authoritarian is that it limits politicians' ability to perform political outreach. TikTok is an easy way to reach a large number of voters, especially for young voters. Thus, if we ban TikTok, we ban a method of political outreach. And so young people tend to be significantly more left-wing than older voters. And they also don't vote as often. And so TikTok is a place where left-leaning politicians can court the youth and vote and increase their turnout. And so by banning TikTok, we eliminate this pathway for helping the youth and the left-leaning get out of the vote. In essence, banning TikTok would simply suppress left-wing ideals and the opinions of the young voters. Moving on to the second argument. Our second argument is that TikTok ban is not useful in the slightest for three main reasons. First one is that it is very easy to circumvent an eventual ban. So all you need is usage of VPN, or software that allows you to pretend like you're from another country. With VPN apps being so available to the public, the purpose of a ban starts to look very dubious. Additionally, it is mostly people with high-tech literacy, meaning young people, that know of these apps. Now, what are you allowing is the people that are most vulnerable to come and freely utilize the application. Secondly, the decision to ban the app might have the unintended consequence of making it even worse when appealing to people, especially the younger ones. When something is restricted, it tends to spark curiosity and desire, fueling greater interest in the platform. And since the ban is easy to circumvent, people will simply get back to it. Instead of that, we offer the alternative of educating the masses about the dangers of TikTok, making them aware of the types of applications that they are consuming and the media that they are consuming. And so what this results in is a world where people aren't constantly craving an application, but instead build a healthy relationship with it. Lastly, banning TikTok will not be useful because of the tremendous increase in political tensions. We are living through times right now where tensions between powers are at their peak. And so by banning TikTok, all we are doing is worsening them. The implications of this are huge, as China would rightfully be mad about another government banning their applications. The response might range from trade sanctions, seizing international company assets, or in the worst case scenario, escalation to war. Notably, the ban of Huawei products in the US sparked a major trade war. Such antagonism would simply not be worth it. With that, I will end my speech. Thank you so much.
Thank to the first speaker of the opposition side, and we are ready, the second speaker of side proposition.
You can start in 3, 2, 1. A 16-year-old teenager finds it easy to drop out of high school just for the hope of becoming something famous on TikTok these days. And several months later, they're nothing but a high school dropout who got a few thousand views and some money from some video that went viral months ago. Now this teenager has ruined their whole life because they went victim to TikTok's glorification of the unrealistic influencer lifestyles. The opposition side doesn't seem to care one bit about these people who are throwing their lives away for the sake of million views and some easy money on the app they're supporting with their whole person. Someone has to care about these people. Someone has to make the world realize that TikTok is a huge threat to all generations. And that's why we as the proposition side would ban TikTok. Welcome again. As the second speaker of the proposition team, I'm going to be talking to you about how TikTok gives people false hope by idolizing being TikTok famous in my argument. Now, firstly, I would like to start with my rebuttals. The opposition side comes and says that TikTok is we said that TikTok is addictive, but they said, okay, all social medias are addictive, and we're no way in denying that all social medias are addicted. But our first speaker proved with his own argument that TikTok is the beginning of this addictive short content production. No, that reduces our attention spans, and we didn't say it wasn't we didn't say we would ban we wouldn't ban any other social media. We would ban any other social media. We were talking about TikTok, but TikTok's ban is essential for our way of reducing these fast short media consumptions. And their first speaker said that they express their ideas on this platform, but as like they said before, this expressing of ideas can be done in other social media platforms as well, regardless of what people think, because we have free speech rights, yeah? And they said we can educate people instead of banning TikTok, but let me remind you, educating about these social media platforms is everywhere. In schools, we have seminars, in internet, like they are posting things about how it's dangerous, but we're still getting the same results, so educating does nothing. Now moving on to my argument. TikTok influences people to not pay attention to actual careers out in the real world and shifts their focus onto jobs like being a makeup influencer or TikTok dancer, which makes them throw their future in the trash because of false hope. The glorification of social media careers is at top rates in today's world, and we surely recognize that this glorification does not only come from TikTok, but TikTok plays a bigger part in it than any other social media does. Before we specialize in social media jobs and how they affect people, let's look at it from a bigger perspective, and after that I'll connect it to TikTok and why it should be banned. Yeah, I can take your PI.
You said that the glorification on TikTok is greater than any other platform. how can you say this when like glorification on Instagram is so much older and other platforms where this kind of glorification is significantly older and more entrenched than on TikTok?
If you wait a bit, I'm going to prove all that in my argument. Moving on. So social media careers such as being an influencer, makeup influencer, any type of influencer has probably been around for more than 10 years. These are jobs that don't have any insurance. You cannot be sure that 3 years from now on, there will still be people watching you. These social media jobs don't give you any guarantee that you'll be earning money from them for the rest of your life and live off comfortably. And with that TikTok, this mania of glorifying social media platforms is increasing at very high rates. Because in TikTok, your video can go viral overnight, making you famous instantly. And while people get so mesmerized by this idea of instant fame and money and a job, they tend to forget that the fact that this job that they have has no concrete guarantee that it will actually be there for a long time and earn them money daily. With teenagers, adults, seeing all these people go viral overnight and earn a few million views and earn money, they automatically think, I can do that too. Mind you, there is no guarantee that your video will go viral anyway at the start. But let's say by 1 in a million chance your video did go viral. Now there is no predicting that you will always be getting the same amount of views, likes, shares, reposts, and same amount of money. And to earn money, you have to be continuing to get the same amount of views or more. The tragic thing is that people are literally quitting their jobs to try, not even actually need to try to become TikTok famous, to be able to earn money the easy and not the efficient way. Teenagers literally don't want to go to college so they can pursue a career in this tiny app that you download on your phone. Some are even dropping out of high school. These people are literally throwing any chance that they have in the future, any real job opportunity, any way of earning safe money away, just because this hypnotizing app makes them think that they can achieve this overnight fame as well and earn money easily with a snap of their fingers. In the opposition side's world and in the status quo, this is our reality. This sad reality is everywhere and every time you open this app. You see a 15-year-old girl doing a get ready with me and saying she has earned so much money, so she has quit high school and she's thankful for all the people. A week later, her views are down by thousands and she has thrown all of the opportunities that she would have had before she threw all of them out, and just for a week-long fame and maybe some free products from beauty brands. The opposition side is literally coming up here and saying, yes, we support this tragic life model. Teach your children to throw out their lives just for them to be famous on this stupid app for maximum a month. Even teach yourself to throw every opportunity you have in life and your safe way of earning money for this as well. The opposition team might even come up here and suggest that this influencer lifestyle that TikTok promotes is a job opportunity for people who are finding it hard to find jobs. But it's the total opposite. Even if it provides a moment of earning money for people who are jobless, it even puts them into more risk as they're walking on unbalanced bricks. But trusting a platform that in no way ensures them that they'll make money continuously and throwing away any effort that they would have put into finding a real job that really gives them a salary at the end of the month. Let me remind you again that TikTok is the #1 promoter of this easy-to-live lifestyle because it literally gives you the chance to go viral overnight. But it also means that the algorithm is unbalanced. When the algorithm is unbalanced, you don't have any insurance that your videos will be watched with the same amount of views for the rest of your life so you can live off comfortably. In addition, TikTok purposely bases their algorithms on making different videos viral in order for more people to go viral. But this doesn't benefit the people who believe they can have a job in this field because it literally means TikTok makes it harder for a person to go viral once they have gone viral once. But if you look at other platforms such as YouTube and Instagram, we see that their algorithms are balanced. Yes, there is a possibility that you can go viral overnight in these social media platforms as well, but at least when they do, they will be getting views because these social media platforms automatically direct viewers to these contents. As I said, not only the videos but the content creators, and the content creators' subscriber amounts continue to grow at balanced rates, therefore making them have a semi-dependable job even if it's not fully dependable. But as I mentioned before, TikTok literally has nothing that you can depend on in terms of earning money on the platform because it's an unbalanced algorithm. Dear panel, if you don't want this life model of TikTok to famous people to be projected on any other generation and actually care about them enough to make an efficient part of the society, you would side with us considering that we want to ban this horrendous app that causes all these unreachable lifestyle verification, and a ban on TikTok is essential to start reducing these. In conclusion, ladies, gentlemen, and dear panel, we as the proposition side would ban TikTok for the obvious reasons that it idolizes its working on TikTok and earning money from that does nothing but make all these people throw their life away just to earn money from likes. If you stand for what's best for the people, you would stand with us. We're so proud to propose.
You may begin whenever you are ready.
In my speech today, I will be making three important points. First, I will be giving our team's third major argument, and then I will show how that major argument is in and of itself a rebuttal to everything that proposition has said. I will then provide more specific rebuttals to proposition's points before returning to our points and explaining why their rebuttal is inadequate. So let's start with our third argument. And our third argument is that TikTok is not unique. The fact of the matter is that, of course, there are some problems with TikTok. There are some problems with every social media platform. But any concept of banning TikTok and not other platforms has to come from the fact that TikTok is uniquely worse than these other platforms, right? Otherwise, you are singling out a single platform without cause, without proper argument, simply because it is TikTok. With proposition has not successfully proven any significant difference between TikTok and other platforms. In fact, they even mentioned that their first argument about promoting short video content applies to both YouTube and Instagram. All of these arguments fall completely flat, and I will show. The point of this argument and the way that it rebuts everything is that all three of their main arguments apply equally to most, if not all, other social media. TikTok promotes short video content, okay, so does YouTube, so does Instagram. There are even more than that. User safety. People have been talking about online harassment, digital harassment, since before there was even TikTok, right? This has been a major concept going way back. And so the idea that in some way TikTok is causing more harm is not something that you have substantiated. You have simply asserted that TikTok is worse. But you have not substantiated it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, do you realize that a ban on TikTok is essential to reduce the short content promotion because it's the biggest influence on the world right now as a social media platform?
That is not how economics works. The fact of the matter is that by banning a company that occupies a single niche, what you will do is incentivize other companies to fill that niche. It is undeniable that Instagram and YouTube have short-form video content and that they are promoting their short-form video content because they would like it to be seen more. The fact is that if you ban TikTok, you are not preventing short-form video content from going up. You are just making Instagram more popular, and specifically Instagram Shorts and Instagram Reels and their short-form video content. I will now continue. The idea of false hope also falls under this framework of this is not unique to social media. People have been ringing alarms about influencers since significantly before TikTok. And it must be stated that TikTok does not bring in to its users nearly as much money as other platforms do. And so the result is that people have been significantly afraid of making this argument on the basis of YouTube, which actually does provide a more significant financial incentive. The fact of the matter is that the type of person who joins TikTok is not particularly allured by economics, and I will return to that in just a moment. Now, the point of this entire tirade is to say that TikTok is not a unique platform, and the fact that it is not a unique platform means that it cannot be banned on its own. Either you as proposition must prove that TikTok is unique, which proposition has failed to do, or they must prove that all social media that follow these three arguments, which I will remind you are promoting short-form video content, having instances in which user safety might be damaged, and creating false hope. I must stress, which includes all social media platforms, they must therefore, by their own logic, argue that every single one of these platforms should be destroyed. I will not go too deep into this, but it must be noted that the absolute annihilation of the entire social media economy would be devastating to the global economy and would be devastating to people's personal lives. The destruction of international and interregional communication would be so absolutely destructive to the rest of the world that it falls outside the scope of this debate entirely. Now, I will now move on to talking about their arguments in specific. My partner has already discussed the problem with their argument that TikTok promotes short video content. So does so many other platforms. And as mentioned, if you cannot prove that TikTok needs to be banned on this case without also proving that Instagram and YouTube need to be banned following this case. Now, secondly, user safety. The user safety argument was not incredibly well fleshed out. However, I will say that their argument that of harassment causing permanent damage is once again not unique to TikTok, and more importantly, is not particularly extreme on TikTok compared to so many other platforms. People talk about Twitter so much more. The violations on Twitter are so much more extreme in terms of user safety and harassment than anything that TikTok could even approximate. Now, finally, the idea of false hope. This is their most fleshed out argument, but it's also the one with the most holes. First of all, the idea that TikTok is more alluring than other platforms is true in the sense that more people would like to post on TikTok, but it is not true that people are being so allured to TikTok that they're dropping out of school. I won't deny that maybe there are a few edge cases in which that might be happening, but a proposition is trying to paint this picture that thousands of people are dropping out of school in order to pursue a TikTok career, and the truth of the matter is that's not the case. The truth of the matter is that even if you can find a few edge cases in which some people have dropped out of school for TikTok, even if you can find even a couple dozen edge cases, the world is full of billions of people, millions of whom use TikTok, and you have not proven that this is a real sufficient threat that rises to the level of authoritarianism necessary to ban an entire platform. Now then, in addition, you mentioned that TikTok offers no promise of future employment, future payment. You're right, but that is the case for all gig jobs, right? Being an Uber driver doesn't promise future payment. Being a after-school tutor doesn't necessarily promise future payment. This is just the case with contract working. And so TikTok is no different. There are people who will get paid, and there are people who will get paid in perpetuity. But the idea that it is somehow less financially secure or less financially stable than other jobs. Obviously, there are some jobs with stable salaries, but there are many jobs that have the same level of insecurity. Finally, I will now move on to a rebuilding of what my partner has said, and this is a fairly simple step because a proposition did not go in depth in their rebuttal. First of all, our first argument was that the banning of TikTok is authoritarian. Instead of engaging fully with the premise of this, they just mentioned ideas can spread on other platforms, and that is true. Here's one of the things though: other platforms in the West are under more Western hegemonic control, right? There has been very well documented in our example of Palestinian protest. There has been a very well documented bias within Facebook against Palestinian content, and so the banning of TikTok eliminates this pathway of unobstructed ability to give political arguments. Secondly, they did not engage with our second argument that it wouldn't work in the real world, instead just saying education does not work. The fact of the matter is education does work. That's why you go to school. That's why we all go to school. Education in safety has been repeatedly shown, not just in social media context, but in all contexts, to be effective. Thank you.
It's okay. Can you drop it?
Yeah.
I will start in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, as the third speaker of the proposition team, I would like to talk about the critical need to ban TikTok, the app that
has gotten everyone glued to their devices, the app that made people addicted to scrolling and watching some weirdest trends. I would like to give out an example to a trend that was created by some brainless person in TikTok. The trend is called the Blackout Challenge. And even from the name of this, you can understand how stupid it is. The reason behind the name of this trend is linked to the videos of children holding their breaths until they fell unconscious. And this has caused many children's death due to having not enough oxygen. And yes, you heard it right, children's death. Since the age limit for downloading TikTok is only 13 years old. That's why many kids recreate some trends like this one. I could go on and on about dangerous trends that was created by TikTok, but I now would like to summarize the keynotes that my teammates given us about why we need to ban TikTok. Our first speaker defined us what the word TikTok and banning mean for you to understand this subject we're talking about better. His arguments were fast content and user safety. User safety. He told us that many users get criticized, harassed, and get bullied from strangers. And sometimes they can also get these types of hate from the people they know, because online bullying cannot be detected easily by anyone. That's why the bullying and the harassment happen more online rather than face to face. The opposition team can tell us that this type of bullying happens in any social media platform. But I would like to add, in TikTok, strangers can text strangers without being friends with them online. So this is a bigger problem in TikTok than other platforms. These types of criticism can cause teenagers and adults to become introverted. And before any of you say that there's settings that they can close, but many of the people don't know this privacy policy, so they can not close it, and that will make the problem start.
POI?
Short video content. TikTok has its own system to upload short videos. This system was built to grab people's attention, but it also causes sad loss of their attention spans, and these videos make people get bored quicker. For example, nowadays people don't go to cinemas because they can't watch a movie for 2 hours straight. They can't read a book because every line they read, they get bored, because at the end, they don't know. In just one line, they can't understand the story, so they get bored. Let's not waste more time and continue on with the second speaker argument, which is that people don't give a single care about their career. Many people who have normal jobs nowadays decide to quit their jobs to become influencers, to become people who record themselves doing skincare, doing hand dancing to some random videos and songs. At the end of the day, quitting their jobs makes them throw their future in trash because of false hope. I would also like to add, these jobs doesn't have any insurance, which is a horrible thing, because if something happens to an influencer and they get hospitalized, how can someone cover a hospital bill from just posting a video? Let's please not forget about young TikTokers, TikTok users who drop out of college and high school. I hope I'm not the only one who thinks this action that's done by teens is acceptable, because it's not. Let's empathize this topic really quick. If you drop out of education, you being an influencer will probably continue for 3 years maximum. And do you believe working for 3 years is enough for you? Because it's not. How are you going to afford your rent, your hospital bills, anything that is related to money? Since you dropped out, many jobs will not allow you to work with them. So now, what are you going to do? You're gonna probably live in your mom's basement and you're going to be jobless, and that's pathetic. I would like to start my rebuttals. The second speaker did a POI on our first speaker, and he said that YouTube Shorts and Instagram Shorts are like a copy of TikTok, but they're not as, first of all, they're not as popular as TikTok. And first, if we ban TikTok, then from the conclusion, we'll see that if there's a decrease of the population of this short content that we don't like, then we'll think about what we did again. And the speakers, Okay.
So you would, in the case where YouTube Shorts becomes more popular, you would eventually ban YouTube.
But that right now, YouTube Shorts is not popular as it. Their second speaker's POI to our first speaker was also, do you want to ban all social medias? Haven't you heard any of our arguments? They're all about only TikTok. First speaker told us that young voters, while listening to other people in their videos, they can get ideas of the voting. But young voters usually don't know what they're doing. They don't listen to their parents. Do you actually think they will listen to strangers online? Also, even if they did, they can learn wrong information about this topic, and this is not a small issue. Second speaker, we didn't have any TikTok in early times. We had YouTube and Instagram, but we didn't have this much of a problem. So after we had the app TikTok, or you can also call it Musical.ly, we got in bigger problems. And that's why we are only trying to ban TikTok, because now TikTok started the problems. And he gave us an argument about Uber drivers is just like false hope. But an Uber driver doesn't have a future, but a person who posts videos, does role plays online in TikTok has a future? Since when can an Uber driver lose their viral in just one day? But TikTokers can. Devastating to global economy. An app, a single app for watching role plays and ASMRs will devastate global economy? I don't think so. Those are all my reasons. Those were all the reasons why we should ban TikTok. Thank you for this.
Shall I go?
Sure.
Could I use my phone as a timer?
Sure.
Thank you. Stopwatch. Yeah. I will be starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Today, Prof had to prove two things. First one is problem with TikTok is so high and so big that it must be banned. And secondly, to do that, they had to prove that TikTok is unique. And in failing to do so, they have already lost this debate. Today, I will be proving you why this debate is already over, and why we've already won, and I will do that right now. I will first start with rebuttals. I'll first start by answering third Prof's arguments, and then I will go to rebuilding my mate's arguments, and then I will do a brief summary. To talk about third Prof, the blackout challenge, she has mentioned the blackout challenge. Those challenges were already a thing way before. You are creating a moral panic. For example, we had the tripod challenge on IG, we had loads of toxic challenges on Vine, on Musical.ly, and so that is, again, no proof that TikTok is unique in any way. Then she spoke about how you can directly message random people. That is literally everywhere. Plus, there's been an update lately on TikTok which prevents you to do that if you do not have it added. When we're talking about settings, now we have a high enough media literacy that most people who utilize these apps know how to block strangers and know how to prevent people from emailing them. Next, she spoke about how people who may work as an influencer on TikTok will not have money to pay the hospital. That is a social security governmental issue. It does not fit in our debate in any way. Secondly, I'm going to prove after why the whole influencer lifestyle argument does not work. Also, YouTube Shorts is well known, and so it doesn't make sense. Also, saying that young adults are stupid and that they can't listen to their parents is simply is an unfair statement, and you cannot be assuming that a young adult is stupid, because if you do, you are re-questioning the whole dynamic of society. Now I will go to rebuilding. No, actually, I will not rebuild. I'm going to go to a summary of everything that has happened in this debate and what we have already won. So what happened first is Bob spoke about how every video in TikTok is under 60 seconds. No, that is not true. That used to be a long time ago. The update has been done a long time ago, and now TikTok boasts a massive range of video lengths. Secondly, he spoke about how TikTok eats brains. What? It doesn't make sense. Then you have spoken about how you want to ban all short videos. But again, as my mates have said, that is present in every single and a lot of other apps. You have shown no consistent argument why TikTok should be banned and not the others. You were saying, I think, proving how you do not have any facts, you're just making up the stuff as you are going. Secondly, you have spoken about how attention span is lost, but you have not proven how that works, how that dynamic, how consuming content on TikTok will make you lose attention. Then you have spoken about how when scrolling, you forget every video that you watch. Again, no argument whatsoever. They are pulling out arguments from a certain magical hat with no consistency whatsoever. Then he spoke about cyberbullying. Cyberbullying applies to every single other platform. Actually, TikTok is known as one of the platforms with the least rates of cyberbullying. As you have TikTok, for example, where you can stalk your classmates, where you can create fake accounts, etc., etc. That is not done usually on TikTok. And in TikTok, people usually create a username that is not their real name. Then I'm going to talk about what my mate first up has said. So, first of all, they spoke about how in opposition's world, banning TikTok would be authoritarian, which is true, and how you block political outreach by banning TikTok. And again, you have not answered that whatsoever. Then she has spoken about how it is not useful for 3 reasons: easily circumventable. Secondly, it creates desire. Thirdly, political tensions. Again, no response whatsoever. Actually, you have spoken about how second prop has spoken about how education does nothing. Are we animals? Are you joking? Are we donkeys in which education doesn't work? That is assuming that the human species is absolutely stupid, and that is extremely unfair, and an argument that unfortunately does not apply in the ESDC. Then the rest, and again, the rest of the arguments were not touched upon whatsoever, proving how weak their point is. Then we have second prop. Second prop talking. Second prop spoke about how the whole influencer lifestyle argument, that is a niche, extremely niche problem. Thinking blowing up on TikTok makes you drop out of college and university and high school is again a stupid argument, which seems to be a recurring theme with the arguments. It is assuming the worst in the human race, and if we think that way, we can never develop as a species. And actually, you have not proven why this only applies to TikTok. You have why TikTok is the issue, and so banning TikTok will not stop this phenomenon. And this would be enough as a rebuttal. I'm gonna add this. I see this whole influencer lifestyle argument situation. I see it as a way to climb social ladder, a way to achieve dreams. Don't you want everybody to be able to have a way to magically, at least dream, to have ambitions, to go and achieve the impossible? In propositions world, that does not exist. People dropping out from high school is an educational problem. It is in no way a problem that is related to TikTok, and that is and education apparently is something you do not appear to believe in. Then we have second op. Second op has spoken about how every single thing that proposition has said applies to every single social media, not just TikTok. Then the second op said that you either prove that TikTok is unique, which they have not done, therefore the argument's gone, or they have to say that they want to ban all social media, which they said they do not agree to. Also, if they did, it is extremely destructive. Again, when third prop came in, she did not answer these arguments whatsoever. Now, what happened in this debate is a hopeless attempt from prop to prove us wrong. Instead of engaging with what we've said and why the proposition and why our arguments are not effective, what they have done is restate theirs. Like we did not understand them. Again, they assume that people are stupid and the education does not work. But in fact, it does. That's why they are losing this debate right now. And to conclude, Prob's position is authoritarian, not useful, and all their position is also based upon two assumptions. Again, that people are stupid, and that education does not work. And by proving that they do, they have already lost this debate. And that is all. Thank you.
We're now here in the reply speech, and the question that must be asked is who proved their case? Who proved themselves to be correct? Now, in order to answer this question, we have to return to the fundamental assumptions of this debate, right? Proposition is trying to prove that TikTok ought to be banned. But if their arguments apply equally validly to all other social media platforms, then they must make the argument that all other social media platforms must also be banned. I will, right now, return to the POIs that I have asked to to all three members of the proposition team. In my first POI, I asked if they would ban all other social media platforms, and they said no. In my second POI, I then asked if they would ban YouTube and Instagram specifically because it is similar to, because its content has extreme similarities to TikTok content. In that one, they did not answer the question directly, but alluded to an answer of no. However, as the debate developed, their position has evolved to the point that they would ban TikTok now, and if the need arises in the future, they would still consider banning YouTube and Instagram, because their fundamental conflict is with the concept of short-form video. Now, here's the problem with this. Ultimately, banning TikTok will not get rid of short-form video. Short-form video existed before TikTok on Vine. It exists presently on platforms outside of TikTok, like YouTube and Instagram. And so, more importantly, as I've already mentioned, the basic fact of economics is if you destroy a competitor, you just make the other competitor stronger, right? Destroying TikTok is not going to help in lowering short-form content. It's just going to make YouTube short-form content more popular. How is that going to benefit anything? Now, fundamentally, the point of this debate has to rest on one of two ideas that proposition has to prove. Either they have to prove that TikTok is uniquely bad, and because it is uniquely bad, it deserves to be uniquely banned, or they have to make the argument, they have to bite the bullet and make the argument that all social media platforms should be banned because all social media platforms are equally bad, and that level of badness is the problem. Now, as mentioned frequently, many times, proposition has not proven that TikTok is uniquely bad. In fact, they've done quite the opposite, acknowledging in their own cases that TikTok is one among many, that YouTube and Instagram are equal to TikTok. And so, in terms of the amount of short-form video content, if that is the case, how then can you argue for banning TikTok and not banning the other two? If you want to be logically consistent, you would have to, right now, argue in your reply speech, you would have to accept that banning all social media is the logical extent of your position. But proposition can't do this, because proposition is well aware that the banning of all social media platforms is utterly destructive to the entire global economy. Proposition seemed to misunderstand my point when I first made this, so I will return to it. The argument is not that banning TikTok would destroy the world economy. It's that the logical extent of proposition's argument is the banning of all social media platforms, and that would undeniably destroy the global economy. So, in short, we have heard 3 arguments from proposition and 3 arguments from opposition, but proposition's 3 arguments apply equally to all social media platforms, and since they apply equally to all social media platforms, proposition doing anything other than standing here during their reply and arguing that all social media should be banned should make them lose. But if they make that argument, they are arguing for the destruction of the entire global economy, and that should also make them lose. In respect, they have to make one of 2 choices, but both of them are so bad that they have necessarily already lost this debate. And with that, I thank you for listening.
to end the first round of ESDC for us all. The last speaker of proposition.
I'm going to be starting in 3, 2, 1. Hello, I am the reply speaker of the opposition team. I'll be talking to you about the clashes we had in this debate and why we think that we won them, and trying to beat their arguments. The biggest clash that we had was if TikTok was like any social media. The proposition side said that it was like any other social media, but why aren't you banning these Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts if you're banning TikTok? I personally said that we were going to ban Instagram Reels and also YouTube Shorts, but because they didn't listen to us and their attention span was lost because of these TikTok short content, they couldn't understand what I said, and we think that they lost this argument. And they failed to recognize that we don't deny the fact that fast media consumption doesn't only happen in TikTok. But as we all repeat again and again and again in our speeches, the opposition side must realize that this idea of short content consumption came and began with TikTok. We continuously proved that YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels were inspired by TikTok, but still this fast content consumption is at very high rates on TikTok. So a ban on TikTok is essential for reducing this fast content consumption that makes our attention spans less. We also proved that in TikTok, giving teenagers false hope is the leader of all the other social media platforms, as it is the most popular. Other than that, we didn't have any major clashes in this as the opposition team. These arguments still short compared to ours, which shows that they didn't have any continuous argument that shows why we shouldn't ban TikTok. All of their speeches, especially their third speech, consisted of them turning the things we said in another way. Quoting the third speaker, "People are stupid and educate does not work." They literally picked out the smallest parts of our speech and turned it into something as if we didn't even said. That was how based their arguments were. And I want to end my speech. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Go on and shake hands, and then you can leave, and I'm going to you give me 5 to 10 minutes.